Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Drew Brees is reportedly set to re-sign with the Saints. According to reports, it is a 2-year deal worth $50 million. Of course, Brees did have that Instagram post a few weeks back where he did say that he would be remaining with Who Dat Nation. He led the Saints to a 13-3 record last season, just shy of 3,000 yards passing, 27 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And for more on this, we bring in our resident quarterback expert, Danny Cannell. Danny, I mean, this is not surprising that Brees is coming back. I mean, he waits for Tom Brady to make his decision first, and then Brees comes out and tells us. But we had mentioned this earlier in the day, is the fact that Brees had said this, but the day went by yesterday and we heard nothing from Brees, so now it's there, and I mean, it's not really that surprising.
Do you guys notice the difference in a healthy relationship with a coach and his quarterback and one that's dysfunctional in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been, symbiotic since the day that Sean Payton brought him in when nobody else wanted him and said, hey, I'm going to back you. And then they've had this illustrious career together, and they want to finish it together. At least Drew Brees does. Sean Payton can, of course, continue on. And I think it's very revealing, too, the numbers that he took. This 2 years, 50 is exactly the same extension that he took the last time he was up for free agency, which is at a discount because I think Drew Brees realizes I don't need any more money. I'm at a point in my career where I want to try to contend. And, oh, by the way, you want one more significant difference between why it didn't work with Brady and Belichick. Look at the weapons that Drew Brees has been working with. One of the best wide receivers, Michael Thomas, who they shored up with an extension. Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Like, they've got weapons around him that they've given him, which is why he's been able to perform at such a high level. But I do think the numbers that are coming out are going to be interesting because that's going to be something in the vicinity of what I think Tom Brady should be looking for. A quarterback twilight of his career who's going to give you just a short window to compete for Super Bowls.
He hasn't declined much. I mean, you see this offense, the pieces they have. This is the win-now mentality. What does this mean for this offense moving ahead?
You're spot on about not declining much. I mean, he's still 74% completion percentage. He's breaking records every single year. Mild concern, which actually might have been a blessing in disguise, the thumb injury, which cost him to miss that time, of course, when Teddy Bridgewater stepped in and filled in so admirably. But they've got a couple things going for him. One, you've got Taysom Hill, who relieves somewhat Drew Brees from the playing time that he does have to get. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Taysom Hill now. Does he become the entrenched backup? Because I would have more concern if that's the case. But Drew Brees and Tom Brady are doing things that we've never seen done before. Quarterbacks excel and show zero drop-off well into their 40s and approaching their mid-40s. It's remarkable, and it's a testament, I think, to a couple things. One, of course, the way they've kept their bodies in shape, but I also think the game has changed so dramatically over the past decade where it is quarterback-friendly. You don't take the vicious hits that you've taken before. The offenses are wide open, but also a quarterback like Drew Brees knows how to protect himself with his mind. He knows where to get rid of the football. He knows how to turn protection so that he doesn't have free guys coming at him. So from that standpoint, you should expect the Saints to be the exact same, a prolific offense with Drew Brees at the helm.
So what does this do for the market for Tom Brady? Because Brady's looking for the same type of deal. He's looking at a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Here's Brees getting $50 million, 25. So what does this do for Brady's value on the market?
See, I would not be surprised if this is the type of number that the Patriots had thrown at Tom Brady. But Brady's saying, no, hold on a second. I see some of these other younger quarterbacks making $35 a year. But I think this might be a reality check for Tom Brady. Although, in saying that, I think Drew Brees gave the Saints a hometown discount, right? He's been there. I think he realized the value of finishing his career with the Saints. Where Brady now, I do think teams, because there are multiple players, they will want to throw, the kitchen sink at him to say, hey, whatever it takes. And there'll be an owner that will back that will pay him $35 or even $40 million a year. But again, I would contend that if Brady wants to make a run for a Super Bowl, save some of that money and give it around. I took a lot of heat for saying that about Dak Prescott yesterday. It's the same for a lot of these quarterbacks. You don't need any more money if you're Tom Brady. You're already financially secure. Your legacy is at stake, so maybe play for a little bit less than you could and surround yourself with the talent that you're going to need no matter where you end up going.
Do you think this is his last contract?
I do. I mean, he's going to be 43 when the season starts. I'm not that far older, and I know when I get out of bed, and I've been saying this for 10 years, not only just a few years. It's hard. It hurts. It's remarkable what he's doing. I would say 2 years is the window that you're looking with, and probably more realistically, it's a 1-year run where you have to go all in. He's been very fortunate not having any injury issues. You wonder if it starts to crop up, if the offensive line isn't shored up, if he continues to take hits, although he's been protecting himself. But I think 2 years is the maximum you're going to get out of Tom Brady, and realistically, it's probably closer to 1.
When you look at the NFC South, the Falcons, they have question marks across the board. The Panthers, you don't know what Cam is going to do if he's healthy. Then also Tampa Bay, they're looking for a quarterback. Maybe Tom Brady, we don't know. Right now, can you say New Orleans with, of course, Drew Brees coming back? They're the clear-cut favorites in that division.
Absolutely. New Orleans the favorites here. And I think we've talked a lot about why Brady may not want to choose the Chargers playing in the same division as Patrick Mahomes. And I totally understand that. But do you really want to go toe-to-toe with Drew Brees in this offense, twice a year? I don't think Brady shies away from that. He's always been the one with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's weighing that type of thing when he's making his decision, but I don't think ultimately, I think that's on the back burner. But the Saints here, locking up Drew Brees, they are absolutely going to be the odds-on favorite to win this division. They've reigned, at the top of that for the last couple years, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
How much of this do you think for the Saints and for Drew Brees is about the fact that they are so close and they've had such disappointment in the last few years? They have been so close, but they just can't seem to get over that hump. Do you think this is just about that he just wants couple more shots to get over that hump?
Absolutely. And I think, again, I feel like I'm comparing this to Brady because they are similar, both facing, new opportunities, and yet you felt like the Patriots were really far away. I know they were close and they made the playoffs, but it just felt when you watched them, they didn't have much talent around Brady, and they really had to restructure a lot to get the roster figured out. As you mentioned, Jeremy, this Saints team has been knocking on that door, and last year, they don't want to go out with a taste like that. That was an ugly performance against the Vikings, and they felt like everything was there. And plus, not to mention, if they can get that, the way things are going to change, if they can get that #1 seed and get a bye in the playoff, that bye is going to be so much more valuable this year playing indoors in that dome. There's a lot of things where it makes a lot of sense for Drew Brees to return there. But I think, Jeremy, as you hit on, one of the most important is we're so close to potentially getting that second Super Bowl win for Drew Brees.
And, of course, they're a team that they've 13-3, right? As you mentioned, a team that is so very close to getting there. All right, Danny Cannell, thanks very much. Thoughts on Drew Brees re-signing with the Saints. It is a 2-year deal worth $50 million. Now, in terms of the NFC South, we just talked about that. Yeah, the Saints are the runaway favorites to win the NFC South. You have Atlanta, who have got a salary cap mess there. Tampa Bay, those odds will likely change if they are a team that manages to land Tom Brady. Boy, would that be nice to see. Brees versus Brady 2 times over the course of the next couple seasons. And then the Carolina Panthers, who are in the midst of a complete rebuild, sitting there long shots to win the NFC South at plus 1,200.
All right, let's keep the conversation going. Our Jonathan Jones joining us here this morning, and your just reaction first, JJ, of we knew Drew Brees was probably coming back to Who Dat Nation, but to see him signing a deal, 2 years, $50 million, your reaction?
Well, it's great for Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints that this is a team-friendly deal, and that's honestly, listen, I don't want to take money out of the pockets of players. In fact, I hate doing that, but Drew Brees very clearly understood the need for this Saints team that is constantly up against the salary cap and really has been for the past 6-7 years, in large part because they pay Drew Brees a lot of money each year that he takes less in order for them to continue to build a winner. And Drew Brees is clearly coming back for 2 reasons. Number one is obviously the pursuit of that second Super Bowl ring. There's no doubt at all about that, and how perfect it would have been for him to win in Miami last month, 10 years after his first Super Bowl win, and ride out as the NFL leader in passing yards and touchdowns. That kind of segues into number 2, and that is, of course, as Tom Brady continues his career, Drew Brees is trying to, stay ahead of Tom Brady in those 2 categories, passing touchdowns and all-time passing yards. And if Tom Brady gets another season on Drew Brees, then obviously Brady is going to pass him. So there has sort of been this interesting, I don't want to call it a cat and mouse game, but between 2 very elite quarterbacks, making sure that their names are at the top of the record books for 5, 10, 12 years, basically until Patrick Mahomes beats them all.
No, the way you look at New Orleans, the way this roster is set up, they have the pieces in place to win it all. Is this basically the last shot for Brees to get a chance to hoist that last Lombardi trophy?
Well, I thought that was the shot last season, and that was the reason that they paid Teddy Bridgewater all of that money to make sure that if something does happen to Drew Brees in the postseason, that we, being the New Orleans Saints, we can go out there like the Philadelphia Eagles and win with a Nick Foles. We can win with a Teddy Bridgewater, of course. It did happen earlier in the season, and they needed Teddy Bridgewater to guide them through 4 or 5 games, which he did very well, and now he's set to make, in the mid-20s in terms of millions of dollars per year. And so, yeah, anytime that Drew Brees is tacking on a year or 2 years to his deal, it always feels like that one last shot. But let's not forget, Sean Payton, of course, signed that contract extension last season. And so he's locked in through the middle part of this decade with the New Orleans Saints. And so, yeah, it does seem that way, of course, but it seemed that way last season. And I'll say this, and I talked about this a lot last season, and that is, the Saints have dealt with a lot of playoff heartbreak. And it's really difficult to overcome that when you talk about the Minnesota Miracle, when you talk about the blown pass interference call, and then I was in the Dome when they lost to the Minnesota Vikings in overtime. It's really hard once you keep that same group of players to have them take that out of their minds as they are going into November and going into December, and then certainly, of course, in January, forgetting how close they have been so many times to, getting and summiting that mountain. And so that's going to be, in my opinion, weighing against the Saints. I think last year they may have used it as fuel, but over time, I mean, you have to start wondering if you're a Saints player, gosh, what else do we have to do?
Well, it could get worse, JJ. Just have a little fun here because Tampa needs a quarterback. And the guy we've been talking about all morning happens to be Tom Brady. I mean, would you like to see Drew Brees and Tom Brady go at it twice a year in the NFC South there?
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'm based in Charlotte, so I'd love to see Tom Brady come through here. Once a year, I'd love to make it down to New Orleans and Tampa. Listen, there's been no reason for me as a national NFL reporter like I've been for the past 4 or 5 years to go to Tampa Bay. There just has not been. And they are a moribund franchise. They are a franchise that the last time they were in the playoffs, George W. Bush was in the Oval Office. That's a true fact. What Tom Brady could do for that team, for that franchise, from a business perspective, I actually just wrote about it, just filed that story to CBSSports.com, should be up at any moment. But I'll talk about on the field and what Tom Brady could bring to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians is by any measure an offensive genius. And then look at who he's throwing to: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, who is criminally underrated every single year across the nation as one of the league's top wide receivers. You look at the tight end position with Brate and O.J. Howard, and the Bucs have never figured out really how to best maximize O.J. Howard, who was just such a fantastic tight end coming out of Alabama. I would love to see Tom Brady throw to those 4 guys and free agents to be named later who are willing to take less to play with Tom Brady in the twilight of his career in a state with no state income tax. These are things that the Bucs have working in their favor. And then, of course, they have around $60 million in cap space right now to both sign Tom Brady and sign free agents. And let's not forget, of course, extending the tag to Shaq Barrett, re-signing Jason Pierre-Paul. They are making every indication and signal to Tom Brady that we are serious about keeping this defense together. That was Bruce Arians' #1 offseason priority. We already have the offensive pieces in place. Look at this offensive line. You will be protected. Just don't turn over the ball 30 times like our old guy did. Come in here. Let's win some football games.
That's right, of course. That's to be determined. If he goes to TB, goes to the Bay, that'll be interesting. Now, the Saints, they have all their ducks in a row. They have the coach, the running back, the wide receiver, and Drew Brees now added to the puzzle. When you look at the NFC, outside of the 49ers, who might have something to say this, could they be a favorite once we're talking about week 1 of the season?
NFC is so stacked, and it took them a year because I felt that way in 2018 that the NFC was going to be just amazing, and I thought what the NFC became in 2019, they should have been in 2018, and you just continue, right? You look at the Packers up there, and they're going to be fantastic again. You look at the toughest division in football, and it's out there in the NFC West right now. Look at how good Arizona just got with their trade, and they were the 4th franchise in that division when you stack them up against the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. So right there, I just named 5 teams that could very well be in the playoffs next season, and we have not even touched on the NFC East and obviously the NFC South with the Saints. You expect the Falcons to bounce back at some point because they can't be this bad every single season with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And then, of course, if the Bucs can land TB12 to TB, then of course you are talking about a division winner potentially. Listen, all due respect to the New Orleans Saints, the 3-time defending NFC South champion, but I just talked about how difficult it will be to make it 4 times for the New Orleans Saints. And then again, I love the offensive firepower that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have right now, with or without Tom Brady. You throw Tom Brady into that mix, you throw that protection out there for Tom Brady, and mix him in with Bruce Arians in their pursuit of another Super Bowl. I absolutely love the Buccaneers. I'm not saying the #1 seed necessarily, but I am talking about a division champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady that, you know, the #2 or #3 seed, at least they are having some home games. Are they playing in the wild card? Sure. Did Tom Brady do that well in his last wild card game? No, he did not. We all remember that pick 6, but no, I very much like these Buccaneers with Brady.
Brady and Brees in the same division. The NFC South will be one of the hottest conferences in all the league. Jonathan Jones, appreciate your time as always, man. So that'd be pretty interesting to have TB12 and Brees and the Big Easy in one division.
I think Jonathan settled it right there. TB12 to TB.
Yeah.
I can already see the marketing campaign. I can already lay it all out there. Now it makes complete sense. He's going to go to Tampa Bay.
Oh, wow.
You're
calling that? We're going to run that back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to get myself into trouble.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.